Hey everybody, J-Man here with Steve and Sean, and we're doing the best and worst of Batman live action movies. So, because if you just did Batman movies, there's a lot. If you did Batman anything, there's a ton. So, I'm just gonna recap the movies that are in the discussion. So there was two serials that had come out. I don't know, Sean, I own them both and I've seen
Yeah, I
them.
have them both.
You
Yeah.
have them, okay.
Yeah.
Steve, have you seen those?
Yeah, I have them both. I've seen them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that first one's called Batman. The second one's called Batman and Robin. It's 1943, 1949. Then we've got the four, let's call them Burton era, even though Schumacher came in. Burton Schumacher, there's four of those. There's the 66 Batman with Adam West. So that's just on its own. We're not counting the TV series, but there was a movie that came out. So that's in there. We've got the Dark Knight three-pack trilogy by Chris Nolan. Are we going to include Batman versus Superman? I feel that's kind of a Superman movie, but I don't know. What do you think?
Include it.
Include it? Yep. Okay. And
But
then
I mean, like, are you including Justice League? Are you including Suicide Squad?
I'm going to say no.
Not
I'm not going to no. We'll count Batman versus Superman because he's still a main guy.
Yeah.
Justice League, no. We haven't seen Zack Snyder's cut, and I'm not counting something like the Joker where you see Bruce Wayne as a kid or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're not going to count. Well, we haven't seen the Batman or whatever, so we're not going to talk about that. So I think that's all of them. We'll just go by like we'll just say fast which ones we think are the best, worst, whatever, and then we'll discuss everything because there's not that much.
So best in terms of best Batman movie or best?
Let's just
movie?
say your favorite. Let's say your favorite.
All right.
Your favorite of the Batmans. So, well, what do you think's the most underrated Batman, Steve? We'll start with you.
Batman Returns. Definitely the most underrated in my opinion. It's everyone sort of crapped on it after 89's Batman.
Mhm.
And I'm not quite sure why, because I guess it's because it's a little bit more monsterish, right? Like Penguin's basically a monster. It's a little darker,
Yeah.
but that's Tim Burton. That's who you hired to direct it. I mean, he did his stuff. And it's still Batman. Like, he's still got all the trappings of Batman.
Mhm.
And, he's got that great scene where he's sitting in Wayne Manor in the dark, and then the bat signal goes up and he's like, oh, he springs the battle.
Yeah.
Which I think is the perfect representation of who Bruce Wayne is. He doesn't care about being Bruce Wayne. He wants to be Batman. Like that's when he comes to life. Like the villains are okay. They're fine. And we got an added bonus villain of Max Schreck, who was arguably the best villain of the two.
Yeah, he's good. All right.
So,
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we're going to talk about them all in depth. So, Sean, what's the most underrated? And just like a brief.
Oh, probably Batman the movie, because like the 60s movie, because everyone, and I think newer generations too, and even when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I want this, like, like silly Batman. Like you get too cool for school when you're about 13 or so, and you're like,
Right.
I want the new, like, attitude Batman. But like the 60s Batman is awesome. It is of the problem with live action Batman is every entry of live action Batman is of its time. It's like there's a 60s Batman, which is very much the 60s comics. There's the 89 through 90s Batman, which is very much 90s crappy blockbuster 90s stuff, right? And then there's like Nolan Batman, which is all serious and like, understated and like, gritty and realistic and stuff, right? So but 60s Batman is cool. And like it's a great comedy as well, but also like all the villains are there and they look great and it looks like a comic book come to life. So
All right,
yeah.
cool. Yeah. For me, I mean, yeah, underrated is hard. Those two are both good options. I'm gonna pick a third option just because, and that's Batman Begins. Only because everyone talks a shitload about Dark Knight and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, Batman Begins, I saw 3 times in the theater. Um, I actually don't like the way they explain everything about Batman, like where he gets his cowl and all that. That's a bit irritating. But it was at least about Batman and him, you know, actually becoming something. And it was the only movie that I think of that has an origin, really. All of the
Yeah.
other movies that he's already Batman and we just get into it. So I like Batman Begins. It's pretty cool. You know, it is what it is. We'll talk more about it as we go. Okay, so Steve, really quick, do you want what's your least favorite Batman?
Batman Forever.
Batman Forever. Yep.
Yeah, even more so. I know the you know the popular response would be Batman and Robin, but for me it's Batman Forever because the movie's a mess. Like I know Batman and Robin's a mess, but at least it's a consistent mess. Like Batman Forever doesn't know what it wants to be. Like Val Kilmer was in a different movie than the rest of the cast because he was like all serious in that, and then like everyone else is like hamming it up, and I'm like, this is just terrible because it's not only bad, it's disappointing because you see what it could have been with a more consistent tone, but it wasn't. Like, you know,
Yep.
it was nonsense.
I agree. Sean, weakest.
Oh, I'm going with the popular response, man. Batman and Robin. Because the thing is, Batman Forever is a mess, but for some reason, when I watch it, like I hate what they did to Two Face, and well, I hate what they did to everyone, but I really hate what they did to Two Face because that was his big screen debut, and after that, everyone thought Two Face was an idiot, right? Uh, but yeah, Batman and Robin to me is just it's miserable. Like I want to like it, but it's Batman Forever seems a bit more entertaining to me than Batman and Robin. Like I revisit Batman and Robin every so often, and I can't get through the dialogue. It's terrible. Like it's just it's a mirage. You think it's cool because it looks cool in your head. You watch it, and it's horrible. You can't get through it in one sitting. It's awful, man. Anyway,
I can get through it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the one that I've watched the least, and this doesn't include the serials, I guess, because I only watched them once. I'm gonna say Dark Knight Rises, because you
Yeah.
know that movie's boring as piss. Like you know, like we're watching it in the theater, and I thought, wow, Bane is great. I just thought he was so good, and they ruined it all. And it's like, oh, it's Talia who climbed out of the thing, and
Yeah.
Catwoman beats up Bane, and like I'm like,
Yeah.
Catwoman sucks. It's like Batman's like doesn't do anything for half the movies recuperating. I'm like, this sucks. And I'm not dying over the. I'll take Batman and Robin over Dark Knight Rises. How do you like them apples?
you know what? I'm beginning to agree with you because it's true. I've seen that release as well, and that's a miserable movie too.
It's
Like
terrible.
the thing is, because it's great up to a point, and then they shift everything. And when people talk about like agendas and stuff ruining movies, that's kind of one that got ruined by that because there was no narrative reason why Talia needed to be the bad guy at the end. You pumped up this guy for the whole movie, and it's not satisfying to me as a narrative because then you just like you fart noise that guy, and I don't really know anything about this new character that's the surprise villain. So you took the steam right out of the film. So it's not one that because it's so long, it's almost impenetrable, right? It's like you want to revisit it to have some fun. It's like, why is this like 2.5 hours? Like,
it's too long. We're gonna destroy that movie in a bit. Okay. Steve, what's your favorite Batman movie? 89?
Yeah, it's good. It's 89. It's not only one of my favorite Batman movie, it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Okay.
Period.
We'll talk about Sean, what's your favorite?
Oh God. It's between 89 and Batman Begins. 89 has nostalgia, of course, right? But Begins has grown on me. I'd say like the nostalgia wins out, but we could talk about Batman Begins like in a bit.
Okay. So I'm gonna say Batman Returns over 89. I think Batman 89 is the best Batman movie. Let's put it that way. But I think my favorite is Returns. I love Penguin. It's not comic book Penguin, but I love Monster Penguin. He's great. The visuals are great. The music is great. I love Batman Returns. I've memorized 89 Batman and Batman Returns. I memorized the movie. I could do like the whole movie. If I watch the whole thing, I will do it with you. Okay. That's it for that. Let's get into
wait a minute.
Yep.
I just want to say, like, yeah, all the love for Batman Returns, like, it's a fun watch, but it's the first step to the campy Batman.
Yeah.
It's like he's record scratching a CD and like it's all sorts of stupidness in that movie. But I mean, it's cool to look at. Like it's great. It's Tim Burton Unleashed.
Yes.
So and much to McDonald's chagrin, but.
Yeah, no, yeah. Okay. I think 89 is the best one, but I like Batman Returns. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. The serials, look, they're of their time.
Yeah.
The one with the wizard or whatever, where he has remote control technology, that's friggin' cool.
That's cool.
I thought it was pretty cool.
Is it the second one where Alfred is the actor that they actually modeled the comic book character after?
Yeah.
And it's the second one, right?
Yeah.
And that's the reason why he looks like that to this day with the mustache and yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
and I think they took the secret passage too from for the 60s series or for the comic. I can't remember.
I don't know where, like, because the bat signal,
the comic. I know that. Yeah.
Because the bat signal was, I can't remember where that came from either. There's a lot of weird things with Superman and Batman that people don't know.
Oh, like Superman, like most of that stuff was developed in the radio show or the TV series. Yeah.
There's a lot of weird things like that where it's like, you don't know, like, you know, things are coming from other sources. Like everyone thinks, oh, it's the comics, but it's like other things come up and you're like, where'd this, you know, Kryptonite's from the radio show and all that.
First Superman Batman crossover was the radio show.
Radio show, yes.
Not the comic, yeah.
So I like the serials. There's like, was there zombies? I remember, or like.
Yeah, I can't fault the serials. I can't say they're bad or great because they're of their time and they're from a time when Batman was very, very young, like the franchise. So a lot of the stuff that it's like, why is Joker here? Because Joker wasn't around yet. It's like, it's like the 40s or something, right? The early
43.
40s.
This is like was the first one, after Batman's appearance.
Yeah.
They're a great curiosity piece. If you ever want to see, like, he drives around in a normal car. Like, it's not like the Batman you recognize, but it's a valid Batman, right? It's a Batman of its time. So
he fights guys.
Into Batman. Exactly. If you're looking to get into Batman, you should really start there.
Yeah, there's a lot of fighting. People don't realize in serials, because they reset the chapter every 15 minutes, every 15 minutes out of a 3.5 hour serial, there is a major brawl because it's supposed to get you to come back, you know, with a cliffhanger to come back for the next chapter. Like Shazam, like Captain Marvel, Shazam.
I just finished watching the Superman serials.
Oh, it's great.
The second one is wicked. Anyway.
Yeah, no. These are great. Spy Smasher. Spy Smasher is like one of my guys, man. That guy is awesome. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the serials are great. Next is 66 Batman. Look, Adam West is the damn best. I met Burt Ward. I have his autograph. I love it. I was never too cool for the 66 Batman. I've watched the entire series at least 5 times over, easy.
Oh yeah, I'd still watch it when I was like, ooh, yeah, I'd still watch the damn thing on YTV and stuff.
That movie has 4 villains, and each one of them are fighting for who's the best. It's like, I mean, every time I watch that, I like someone else more. I'm like, oh man, Joker's so good in this. And then it's like, on land you may command, but at sea it is me. And so, like, because Penguin and Joker are fighting for who's going to be the leader, and it's like, well, Penguin, they're using Penguin's ship, sub. So he's like, well, I'm in command, right? I love that. I love the movie. I've seen the movie so many times. Sean and I saw it in the theater together. That was great. I don't know. Do you guys do you still like that movie? Or?
Oh yeah.
It's awesome. Man.
It's you know, people sneer at the 60s, you know, at the Adam West show, like they're like, oh, it's campy and cheesy. It's like, this was Batman at that time. There, you know, Silver Age Batman was a little bit like this. Like you saw it like this, and it was just a great representation. You know, and then like people just, they'll go for dark brooding, but it's fun. a lot of the actors, they don't get a lot of credit. A lot of the actors for the villains, especially, are pumped up, man. Like
Yeah.
Cesar Romero and Burgess
Yeah.
Meredith and Frank Gorshin and Julie Newmar.
They're
They're all good.
legends.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
know, I know.
they're not like, amateurs. This is an amateur hour. They were actually, it's tougher to do it, I think, silly like they did, as opposed to just being dark and broody. That's easy to do. You just sneer in a corner.
I
You know?
think too that with the millennial generation, this movie's being overlooked, and all of those actors being overlooked too. Because I see online on YouTube, there's like Joker's ranked, and it's everyone but Cesar Romero. And it's like they've totally forgotten there was a '60s series and movie, And for a long time, Cesar Romero was the Joker, and
Yeah.
Cesar Romero, that's who you thought of when you thought of Joker, So
He
yeah,
is the
it's kinda sad.
Joker.
He is the Joker. Yeah.
Every single Joker after that was less Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's like, okay, so that brings us to, we'll leave the Burton Schumachers and the Nolans. Let's get to BVS. Now BVS, I actually really like the way Batman looks. That's like, he looks killer in those two movies. Like Ben Affleck, the bat suit with the Frank Miller kind of Dark Knight Returns, the bigger bat symbol, and he looks like, more like stocky. I think he looks awesome. That's like probably my favorite looking Batman, like just the look of that Batman. I mean, the movie's the movie, where none of us are like huge fans of that movie.
Except Sean.
He's watched it like 100 times.
Well, yeah, Batman is kind. There's no characterization in Zack Snyder movies, so Batman is sort of a weird psycho that is motivated by his dreams. Like he has dreams for things where like a man bat pops out of his parents' sarcophagus or something, and then he has a dream about Flash, or is it a dream? We don't know because he can't tell a story properly. And so that's what Batman is. And that's a terrible Batman. And he's poking people with a hot poker, and you don't really know why. There's supposedly, I mean, as of this recording, the new Justice League hasn't come out yet, and there's supposedly a whole story that redeems Batman in that thing. Like from being an angry bastard that pokes people with a hot poker to redeeming him, to like trying to kill himself and then redeeming himself at the end. I don't know if that's true. If it is, then I'll give it another go and see if it's it. But the Batman in the BVS is kind of terrible. He looks awesome, but everything looks awesome in Zack Snyder movies. Like whatever.
Just 2 points on that, Sean. First of all, one good point and one bad point. The bad point is, if that's true, you shouldn't need to redeem yourself. There never should be a need for Batman to redeem himself, because it should just be he's awesome all the time, right? Like his story is one of, he wasn't able to save his parents as a kid. So you could say his entire story is of redemption, but redeeming how a character was portrayed should never happen in a movie, because you should always do justice to the character. So that's the one thing. The one good thing I would say that we haven't pointed out is, I like the fact that Batman has a suit to fight Superman. That's a very Batman thing. If you've seen him, he's had dozens of suits for different reasons. And I'm really glad that they finally, and it took till Batman versus Superman, strangely enough, for them to pull out the fact, hey, I got this other suit that is for a specific purpose. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, he had to copy Dark Knight Returns to do it, but
still, it's still in the movie.
It's still cool to see that Dark Knight Returns suit. It's awesome.
Yeah. It is awesome. Yeah, the visuals of Batman. I think Zack Snyder should have done just a Batman movie. Zack Snyder is a Batman guy. He's not a Superman guy.
No.
So I don't know. Like, you can't alter these characters. Like you can't. Oddly enough, just a quick side note: Batman, and we've talked about it here, is the only character for some reason I can accept in several different iterations. Like if it's going to be the silly Batman, I like Adam West Batman. If it's going to be the dark Batman, I like that as well. As long as Batman himself is good in whatever situations he's in, I'm okay with that. Like if Robert Pattinson's going to be a detective Batman, which is what I haven't seen properly yet, then I'm all for that. But you gotta do Batman right. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Superman is very like, if Superman is not the beacon of hope, and when this movie ends, I want to do good in the world to honor Superman. It's not necessarily that I want to be Superman, but I feel like Superman is making me want to be a better person. And if I don't feel that in the movie, then it's over. That was the Man of Steel hype. It's not about, whatever it is. I walked out of that movie, I'm like, well, it's an okay movie. I liked it. I fought for it saying it was great because the action was cool, but I didn't feel like doing good. And that is the fail. Batman is different. So anyway, like Ben Affleck can be a good Batman. If they wanted to do something with him, they could have done something with him. He looked cool.
Yeah.
So,
well, they were gonna do something, and I have a feeling that movie, that Batfleck movie where he fights I can never remember the character's name because
Deathstroke.
It's Deathstroke, yeah. That might have been probably one of the best Batman movies.
Could have been.
Because the thing is, the Zack Snyder universe, what I like about it is that like the one thing I like about it is the DC universe, in that like you can have Killer Croc and all these other things. It's not too full of itself, where it's like, well, we can't do Killer Croc because it wouldn't exist in this universe, which was the thing about the Nolan verse, right?
That's right.
So it is the world of Batman. Like you could see the comic book Batman existing in this world. So that Batman movie was probably going to be awesome, and we never got it. So
well, that brings us to the other ones, because this is what's lacking in the Nolan ones. We could talk about the Nolan ones quickly. It's that you've stripped away every little bit of fantasy that you could possibly strip away, to where Batman literally makes less sense as those movies go along. It's like, well, now you're facing a serial killer who paints his face white. And it's like, okay, well, Batman, why won't you just kill this guy then? Like, I don't get why Batman wouldn't just kill Joker. Like, it's like, the whole point is that if he killed Ra's al Ghul, like he's like, I'm not going to kill you. I'm just not going to save you. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's killing him. Like,
they don't, the thing is that, nothing really makes sense because it's too gritty and realistic. It's like that's the problem. It's like I love Batman Begins. Because more and more as I see it, the problem is that, like, why would he then don that suit, right? But what I like about Batman Begins, and maybe it's just me, but like people of our generation, we grew up with the Christopher Reeve Superman, and we got a soup to nuts epic origin Superman movie, and we never really got that with Batman. And to me, Batman Begins is the perfect companion piece to that. It's like, it's like, here he is as a young man, and then he becomes Batman. I like that, right?
Yep, me too. So, Batman Begins is very good. That's in the top 3 or 4 Batman movies, easy, right? But then after that, it's poo. Like Dark Knight, it's like a non-Joker, a non-Two-Face with Batman in it, sort of, who doesn't have a Batmobile. He doesn't have a Batcave. Like, what is this? Like, Batman Begins set this up, and then it didn't go anywhere. It undid everything.
Batman Begins and the Nolan verse is for people who want a Batman-like story without Batman. Right. And like, the only reason Batman Begins works is because he's starting out, so you wouldn't have all this fantasy, right? Like, you would have him training and developing the bat suit and all that, right? But the movie, like, that's all it has to offer. It's a very passionless exercise. It's passionate about like themes, like there's the themes of like fear and redemption and all that, but it's not passionate towards Batman itself. Like, you could throw any characters in there and tell the same damn story, and everyone would love it still, right? Yeah. It's not it's the worst representation, I think, of Batman other than BVS there is, right? Because I
think it's worse. Yeah, I think it's worse than BVS, because Batman's still Batman and makes stuff.
Worse. Yeah, no, that's fair, but like, it's just like, as movies, before Christopher Nolan decided he didn't like dialogue and sound, they're well crafted movies. It's just, if you watch it as a like if you have your nephew or a kid over and you're like, okay, this is Batman, you're not showing him the Nolan verse Batman. Like that's like maybe when he's an adult and say, hey, do you want to see what some so-called serious filmmaker did with Batman? Here you go. But if you want the kid to like Batman, you don't show him those movies.
Yeah, I never got the
Yeah, show
impression
him
that I
the
wanted to be
90s
Batman.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
I like the ending of the Dark Knight, but the thing is that's the whole theme wrapped up. But the problem is the movie is so freaking long to get there. But like,
so long.
When
he tests he thinks that the city is gonna fall into nihilism like him, right? After all the things he's done, and so he has that one final test with those boats, and Tiny Lister makes his big important role in that thing. That's awesome. And I like that, like Joker's stunned. He's like, oh, what? Nothing's blown up, and Batman's like, yeah, we're not freaking you, right? And that's cool. I like that. But I mean, how long is that movie? It's long.
Long.
It's like I don't know why. I mean, God.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, like I don't want to do a Christopher Nolan thing, but we can do a Christopher Nolan one of these. The thing is that like he needs to when he has a good idea, he can make a long movie. But when he has a generic idea like Batman, no Batman movie needs to be more than 2 hours. Like period.
It's 2.5 hours.
Like 2 hours is enough. Like it's a mystery. You fight a guy. That's it. Like whatever. Yeah. Dark Knight Rises is a fail because I like Anne Hathaway, but she's sucky as Catwoman. Bane was shaping up to be awesome. I liked Bane a lot, and then they ruined the whole thing at the end. They brought Talia in. I like the actress who plays Talia. I've seen her in other stuff. She's cool. But like, who is this character and why should I care? Like, obviously we know who she is, but as a person watching this who doesn't know, you'd be like, what's going on?
It ties back to the first movie.
I know.
It's the Die Hard thing,
it's
right?
The Die Hard thing,
But the problem is it's still weak because you built up this other character for 2 hours,
Right. Well, Die Hard 3 did not build up a secondary villain only to have another guy overshadow him.
No.
Yeah, it was the same guy saying like, I'm the guy's brother. It's like, okay, well, there you go.
That's fine, yeah.
And Dark Knight Rises misses a lot of the supporting characters who were so good in the first two movies, like Michael Caine, he's barely in it. Gary Oldman's not in it as much.
Right.
Morgan Freeman's not in it as much. Like those guys are, if they're not great characters, they're great actors, and they're very comforting presences, and they're nowhere to be found. Plus, it's depressing. Like you start and like Batman's crippled, and you're like, why is Batman crippled? Why is he like, he needs a cane? I'm like, I don't want to see crippled Batman. Who wants to see crippled Batman? Well, I want to see Batman doing Batman things.
I like the Nightfall story, and it could make a cool sort of like epic 2.5, 3 hour movie if they do it right. And I'm cool with like Batman getting crippled and then coming back like he did in that comic. I like that comic story, but yeah, it's a miserable watch.
It's too soon.
Like, Chris Nolan's not gonna make something like that fun. He's not going to make anything fun because he doesn't make anything fun. So
he doesn't make fun movies. But
yeah,
the Nightfall is great. The problem is that Dark Knight Rises, having him break his back or being crippled or whatever, that's the same thing as X-Men 3 having Dark Phoenix. Too soon. Nightfall is after decades of Batman being the best, and then something happens. This is the third outing for Batman, and he doesn't do anything. You know what I mean? It's just like, same with Venom in Spider-Man 3. It's like, when's there going to be a movie where Spider-Man or Batman is just Batman normal?
Yeah.
Without discovering himself. It's like,
well, even like in that movie, it begins with the revelation that he hasn't done anything since the second movie. He just sat everything out. And it's like, well, then all Batman is the first movie, second movie, and then the third movie, like he doesn't really do anything.
And that was my point. Sorry, why I said he was crippled. He was crippled at the beginning.
Yeah.
It wasn't that Bane broke his back. He's walking around with that cane. Like,
yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Selena Kyle takes his whatever from him. And I'm like, why is he like, he's not crime fighting. Why is he just like hobbled? I get it. Like if Bane breaks his back, okay, cool. But he's hobbled. And then he gets back to normal, and then Bane breaks his back, and then he's incapacitated again. I'm like, what is going on? Like, Christian Bale is spending half of this movie on his back.
Yeah. Yeah, at this point in time, one of us should be Batman. Okay. Batman Forever versus Batman and Robin. Here's the thing. Batman and Robin is completely silly the whole movie and very colorful and just amazing on a 4K TV. Batman Forever also has visual greatness, and Val Kilmer is in a different movie. Val Kilmer is like, look, this is Batman. I'm serious. I love Nicole Kidman, you know, for the obvious reasons, except that she is god awful in this movie. And like me, I have to by obligation, I have to like Nicole Kidman, but I have to admit that I don't like her in this movie. I just can't stand her. I cannot stand Two-Face. That might be the worst representation of a Batman villain ever. Ever. Completely wrong. He flipped the coin 100 times. He's sitting there on the couch flipping it. And I'm like, no, that's not how that works. Okay. Riddler. Okay. Frank Gorshin is the best, right? And Jim Carrey loves Frank Gorshin. Unfortunately, Frank Gorshin is not the Riddler that we wanted in this movie. So it's just the good guys are all normal and they're doing their thing. And Robin's like, my parents are dead. And he's like, you know, he's hitting Batman. He's like, they're dead because of you. And you're like, but then Riddler and Two-Face are running around like the two guys from Night at the Roxbury. And I'm like, what is going on in this movie? It's
because the script says he should have conflict with Bruce Wayne.
Right.
So
So Batman and Robin is a worse movie, maybe, but maybe not. I don't think so. I like Batman. I put Batman and Robin in just to visually watch it, and like, you know, it's so cheesy that you may as well just give yourself into it and be like, okay, this is just stupid. Let's just watch him. Bane looks amazing.
He looks awesome. Man.
Poison Ivy looks great. Like, everyone looks really cool. So that's my take on those two.
The only reason, one of the main reasons I'm going to say Batman and Robin's better than Batman Forever is if you take the four main characters of like the two main villains from each movie and you put them together, Schwarzenegger, Thurman, Carey, and Tommy Lee Jones, Arnold Schwarzenegger is the most entertaining of the four. I know he's not Mr. Freeze. He is nowhere near Mr. Freeze. But the man just won't stop with the quips, and it's just you have to love Arnold Schwarzenegger for being Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's quite awful.
The thing is, they wrote all the quips because he was Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he's not a comedian. Like like there's no comedic timing to anything. It's like, you know, what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. It's like, take two of these and call me in the morning. It's like the man won't stop, but he's not even like good at it. It's
that makes it even better. That makes it even better, man. The guy.
Yeah, to laugh at, sure, man.
He has so much personality in a character who should not have personality.
That's completely wrong.
I don't know why he watches Rankin and Bass movies, like the Christmas specials and stuff with his little polar bear slippers and stuff. I don't know. Yeah. The thing is, Batman and Robin, like I've said this before, I'll say it again. Like it's one of the most important comic book movies of all time because it was the last straw. It was so bad that like every studio from even Fox, like Fox, Marvel, everybody stayed the hell away from that kind of thing after that. It's like, and even when they made that kind of thing, it tanked big time. They're like, we should have learned our lesson. You know, it's the reason why, I mean, for better or for worse, the X-Men are wearing black leather and not their costumes. It's the reason why Marvel went so serious and realistic with their stuff to begin with and then ramp up to the silliness. Yeah. It's like, it's the reason why everyone did what they did.
Yeah, I know. But we got Batman Begins, which is good. But then Batman Begins started the next chain of.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got 5 minutes left to talk about the Burtons. 89 Batman, I saw it 5 times in the theater. The first day I saw it, I had my Batman shirt, my Batman hat, my Batman watch. I bought a Batmobile in the movie theater. I bought Batman and Joker figures in the movie theater with my popcorn and pop. The next day in school, in grade 6, my grade 6 teacher, who was with me in the theater, coincidentally, called me up to the front of the class and said, Jason, sit down here. And me and him talked about Batman to the class in grade 6. Okay, his name was Mr. Ellis. If by some chance, Mr. Ellis, you're watching this, that was me, if you remember. So I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. When that came out to buy, I bought it on VHS. I watched it 22 times in about 2 weeks. I watched it morning, afternoon, and night nonstop. And I know it was 22 times because I was tallying how many times I could watch it. I love that movie. I know all the music cues, everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Batman Returns, when I first saw it, I didn't like it because I thought, oh, this isn't really Penguin. This is weird. I couldn't wrap my head around it. But then I came back to just enjoy it as like a fantasy, as a dark fantasy movie that has Batman in it.
Yeah.
The two best Batman movies for Batman are probably Batman Begins and '89. Those are the two for Batman, the character. But Batman Returns as a fantasy, dark, epic, masterpiece, Tim Burton's masterpiece. I just like it for that. So
yeah. It's all, I agree with everything. The score by Danny Elfman is brilliant. One of the best film scores ever written, ever composed. Jack Nicholson knocks it out of the park. Still the best serious Joker, I guess there is. Michael Keaton was brilliant. I even like Bob the henchman, he was terrific. All the supporting characters were terrific. It had a great climax. It felt like the world of Batman. There's no negatives to me for that movie at all. It had everything. Batman Returns, you already heard me say, it's a movie that grows on you, and I appreciate it more in my adulthood than I did as a kid because I had the same reaction you did.
Yeah. Sean, 3 minutes.
Yeah, Batman '89 was the first honest attempt to try and make the character a bit more serious. And I know some people watch it now and like, oh, it's cheesy and stuff. It's like, well, I mean, I could show you Batman the movie, and that's what they were working off of, and that was the cultural vision of what Batman was for most people. And then Batman '89 came out, and it was more gothic and stuff. And I saw it twice in the theater. I can't remember how many times on VHS. It was a cultural phenomenon when it came out, more so than the Nolan movies.
Yeah, so people don't realize that Batman movie was enormous. Like my 6th grade teachers in the theater with me, and we're talking about it in school. This was enormous. Like my mom saw it in the theater. My mom saw Batman Returns. My mom doesn't care about anything, any of these kinds of things, and she saw that in the theater. She saw even Forever in the theater. Yeah. That movie started a trend where we had to make sure that we were there first day. That was when the first day, Friday night, gotta be there for the opening started for me, where it's like, oh shit, yeah, I gotta, Batman Returns, I'm there Friday night. Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises. Like we never missed a Friday or Thursday or whatever the day was. So, all right, guys. Well, I think it's been pretty good talking about Batman. This is fun. Batman's awesome. There really isn't any completely, utterly shit ones except for Batman and Robin, Batman Forever-ish, but they're still kind of watchable. Only Rises was a little bit long for me. Maybe I'll throw it in this weekend and see, but probably not. I'm going to watch WandaVision again. I already watched the first 3 episodes twice. So, all right, guys. All right, we'll end it there, and we'll see you next time.